Where I started off career-wise, initially was doing my apprenticeship as a motor mechanic. That's because my mother and father wanted me to be a motor mechanic. Truth be known, I wanted to be a lawyer. So cut long story short, many years after completing my motor mechanic apprenticeship, I travelled around the world for 4 years, living in different countries. And when I came back from travelling, I knew that I had intellect, I knew I had brain, experience, knowledge, all that kind of thing, and I wanted to be able to show that I also had a piece of paper, because back then qualifications meant everything. You could have experience but no qualification, and I think the same thing applies today. So I worked full-time and studied full-time and put myself through university and did my honours degree in psychology. And then when I graduated from psychology, I went and worked with the Alcohol and Drug Authority. So I did nearly 8 years working with the Alcohol and Drug Authority. I managed Hollyoak, I worked at Serenian House, and then from there went out of the alcohol and drug field over into Children's Hospital, doing research, doing some things that were a little bit more expanding on like what I'd learned at university as well. And then got to a point where I was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, and I was given 10 years to live, and kind of life came to a bit of a grinding halt. I did go through a dark patch, contemplating ending life before the 10 years, but something, I think a friend of mine had called me one day and prayed for me, made me see that there was another option through faith. And here I am, 32 years later, alive and well and cured, no disease. So from that point forward, I actually travelled again. I started a small business. I travelled and spent 12 years working in Southeast Asia, setting up small businesses, and learned lots of, and had lots of experience working with diverse cultures, working with other people, languages, but always had my hand in the training. So it was really training and developing businesses, teaching people everything through customer service, being supervisors, team leaders. But involved in there was all of my psychology background to help people overcome their own self-imposed limitations and limitations that they had developed over their lifetime. And I suppose that ties right back into why I'm even doing what I'm doing now. I just know from my own life that you can overcome anything. I have a firm belief that you can, with the right guidance, support, and with the right attitude. So one of the reasons why I'm even here at TrainSmart Australia is because I was given the opportunity to come and work with mental health services, counselling, alcohol and drug, youth work, and having lived experiences and having world-travelled life experiences, this gives me the opportunity to impart that knowledge and wisdom through a course that gives people their credentials to maybe live the life that I know that I've lived once I got my qualifications. Believe in yourself. Your past does not define your future, and that everything is, you're able to overcome everything if you want to. The support that you get from TrainSmart Australia during the course is phenomenal. I've worked, as I said, set up 2 colleges in the past. I've worked at other colleges, and TrainSmart for me stands out because of the caring, the sharing and the attitude that's here, and because they're a national organisation as well, and you can do online, face-to-face, so they kind of tick all the boxes. Today, I do believe in equal opportunity, but it's equal opportunity to apply yourself, not equal opportunity for an outcome. The outcome does depend on you, and the equal opportunity is there. There's so much funding available to help people to enrol in courses. You've just got to make the inquiry and it's basically given to you, but then you have to apply yourself. Starting off with a Certificate 4 in mental health, in alcohol and drug, in one of those areas, there's no prerequisites except that you've got the ability to read, write and communicate. And you've got the willingness and the attitude to learn. But for a diploma, there may be some prerequisites for that. But most of all, have a look at the course and have a look at the units, and then see that one of the things I was talking to one of the students yesterday about that we've currently got is that you may complete your Certificate 4 in mental health. The units that you do, most of those units are also in the Diploma of Mental Health. So when you do those units, there's only 2 or 3 other units you need to do to add on after you've completed that would give you a diploma in another area. But that also gives you a good grounding to go on to university if you wanted to. But you need to know clearly when you start where you want to go. And one of the things we teach here is, and we talk to people about, is designing a career path or a career plan. And so we can help you with that in understanding what would be the best things to do now in order to reach where you ultimately want to go. I would say the opportunity to be able to see people begin classes where they are at and see them change from week to week and notice the growth. And the wow is actually when you do an assessment in a classroom and people have got to get up and do an oral presentation, and you can see the fear and the nerves and the anxiety prior. And then once they've broken through that barrier, they just boom. And the units and the things that they do after that build on top of that. So you actually do see people growing in the journey through their education. And that to me is, that's brilliant. If your life is already full and you've got 7 days a week already occupied with family, life, work, and you're endeavouring to take on a full-time course, you need to give something up in order for that to fit in. And I think this is the mistake that a lot of students make, is they fail to consider the time that's needed to do the course. And so there is a giving up of non-essential or things that are not going to support you, like television, social media. All of those kind of entertainment things need to be put aside, and you need to make a dedicated effort to change your habits and really engage in the course. If you don't do that, it's going to be a struggle. There's probably been a few in different industries, but working through the alcohol and drug industry, being able to be part of the journey of people recovering and then going on, and only through accident catching up with them in life where they've jobs, married, kids, and they're kind of living a life now that their family or their siblings have probably not been able to. But yeah, just seeing people be able to change. What I've seen people go, they're now working in community service areas, they're working in alcohol and drug field, some have gone on to be counsellors, but people have gone on and worked in those areas. They're the people who have applied themselves, and they're the people who have seen it through, and also found volunteer work in the area where they want to work on the way through. So there's a book I'm writing at the moment because I believe that that there's some value in there, and I've got courses and workshops designed to help people through the process of, once they understand their own values and their own beliefs and their own philosophy in life, they will know what they're willing to do. So yeah, I've developed that, and that's, as long as I'm breathing and I'm able to talk and I'm able to educate and train, I'll always be running courses of some kind to help people overcome.